All right, so we're here with Tyler Shearer, the Tyler Shearer. And the reason why I say that is because before I met Tyler Shearer, I heard tons of stuff about him, good and bad stuff, which we hear about all of us, right? So we're gonna get down to the real truthful parts about the Tyler Shearer and how he started this epic journey that he's on. So tell me a little bit first. You graduated how long ago?
It's been about 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so what'd you do from right when you graduated for the first good 6 months?
I was involved in a startup company that I thought was gonna work out for me. And it ended up not being a good fit. So about a couple months, probably about 6 months after I graduated, I went back to square one. I was always doing photography on the side, but that's when I really pushed and dove into photography and video and shooting weddings and just hustling.
So photography was a hobby then, you would say? It started out
it was not a business before that. I mean, I was getting paid, but I wasn't pushing it, and I wasn't running it like a business.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people call themselves photographers.
Yeah.
But they don't run a business behind it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that does. So let's see. Take us to we want to give them the real in and outs of everything. So you started doing portraits, right? And roommate portraits, which you met your wife from, correct?
Right.
And so what made you really want to, did you ever think and ask yourself and say you want to become the best photographer in the world, or what? Tell me a little bit of what was in your head.
Well, I think we got to pull it back a little bit before that, because when I grew up, I wanted to be an architect.
Okay.
So I used to draw and paint, and I'd never tell anybody because I was a jock.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like I played ball because I don't have no weight to me, but I used to play basketball and golf like crazy in high school.
Okay.
I ran my own lawn mowing company. That's kind of my start of entrepreneurship, working for myself, loved it. But as I progressed and went on an LDS mission, I came back and I wanted to be a lawyer because I just love, honestly, talking to people, persuading them, selling them. And then I found out that I hated it. Just absolutely hated it. And luckily I went to school, and this is the whole reason of why you go to college, I feel, is I learned how to learn, and I took a class that intrigued my interest that I was able to go all in on. And the first time I ever touched Adobe products was 4 years ago.
Okay.
First time I ever touched a camera was less than 3 years ago, and now I look and I shot over 20-something weddings this last year, numbers of clients for videos and photography, and it's growing. It's crazy because it was less than 3 years ago, and I didn't even know what the heck aperture was.
So so you said it was one class in college that brought you to that point.
Yeah, it was I had an F in the class.
Yeah.
So I hate school. I'm horrible at school, and I had this one assignment where there was it's called light painting, where you got to put long exposure and paint with light.
Okay.
So I put all my Nike shoes up there. If you don't know me, I'm kind of a Nike fanatic and Red Bull. And I started painting this, and I was like, holy crap, this looks like Nike.
Yeah.
From that day on, I was hooked, and that's when I started pushing myself to learn more about photography.
So at that point, is that when you decided you wanted to have your own business, or were you just kind of going in blinded?
No, because I didn't have enough knowledge yet.
Yeah.
So I had to go and seek more knowledge. I took another class, and it helped me.
Okay.
But I was on YouTube. I was paying for education. I was paying just to go shadow people.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing everything that I possibly could to engulf myself in photography 24/7.
So would you say that the majority was self-taught then?
Yeah.
So what would you recommend to people going into that wants to be an entrepreneur when it comes to self-teaching yourself? Because a lot of people don't like that route. So
Right.
What would you recommend?
Well, I think it falls back to you and I had to teach ourselves about SEO.
Mm-hmm.
We had to teach ourselves about AdWords. We had to teach ourselves about web design because I don't want to pay for somebody to do that.
Mm-hmm.
As an entrepreneur, you're not a one-trick pony. You're almost like a Swiss Army knife, but you specialize in one or two things. And I think that is the key to always remember as an entrepreneur is you can be a Swiss Army knife, but specialize in two things because that's where you're actually going to get paid.
So what would you say your two things are that you specialize in?
Video and photography obviously is a strength because I can rock a camera, but I'm really good at conceptualizing and coming up with creative marketing ideas.
Okay.
To be able to bring in the masses.
Yeah.
Because if you can't tell a story that someone can attach themselves to, you fail. And you're not worth anything and your value doesn't go up. So how do you build your value? You have to understand advertising and marketing in order to progress and push photography and video.
So with that being said, you said creativity is obviously a strength with you, and you'll have to visualize. So when you visualize the future, what do you see?
That's crazy because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I think our dreams and our expectations for ourselves are always changing. If they're not, then you're not growing fast enough.
Yep, that's
right?
true.
So I think one of my long-term goals is to always be able to provide a story and an emotion through photography, design, or even video. Ultimately, I look at the movie Art of Flight. Brain Farm is locally, they're from Jackson Hole, and they have pushed the limits of why we watch action sports in the backcountry. And I would want to be a hybrid of them.
Yeah.
Meaning I do like some crazy epic films, but I know how to do crazy epic photography, like fashion and strobes and lights.
So basically everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is what a lot of entrepreneurs do. There's not really like one thing you could pinpoint. And so
I think in my mind it's like one thing, but to everybody else it's like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah. But that's great because that means you'll never get bored too. So obviously being an entrepreneur, there's risk. Now, would you say that the risk and I guess you could say the failures or the setbacks have been worth it up to this point of where you're at now?
Yeah. I mean, there's been some big risk.
Yeah.
A little background with me. My first camera was bought with everything I possibly had at the time. I've maxed out like 3 credit cards like 3 times, like paid them off and then maxed them out again. I even took student loans out just to buy more equipment. Mark Cuban talked about how he did that with his whole entrepreneur, like that's what set him. And, I took a lot of risk and I took a lot of gamble. And I don't suggest that for everybody, but for me, that's the only way I could. I mean, I'm not a trust fund baby. Yep. In other words, it's all on me. So.
If only we all were.
I know, right?
Heck, we would be who knows where now.
Be building Snapchat or something.
I know, that's true. So, but with that, you said it's not for everybody. So how can someone, being in that, I've taken risks too, and I know that it sucks sometimes, that when you're in that spot or when you're in that moment where you don't even know if it was worth it, what was the one thing that made you keep going? You said you maxed out 3 credit cards, and then you remax, and why? Why did you do it? That's the question.
I think it comes down to 2 things. Educated, risk. Yeah. And what I mean by that is you research this, you figure it out, and you start to anticipate and you balance out, is this worth it? And can I get a return from this? If it's not an investment and if it's not going to help you build your value, then it's not worth it. And then the next thing is I was never going to quit. That's if you're a quitter or you feel like any lick of oh, I don't want to do this, or you're not competitive enough, it's not for you. Yeah. And I think that comes from in here. It doesn't come from someone telling you. It has to be yourself. Because I was told I was crazy by my parents. I was told I was crazy by my friends. What the heck are you doing? You're not making any money. Yep. But every day I treated it just like it was a 10 to 12 hour job, and that's what I do. Yep.
And now look at where you're at now. It all starts to pay off down the road too. So.
Oh, it's a freaking roller coaster ride, but it's so fun.
And that's the thing, and that's what the risk is worth it because you never know what's going to happen the next day. And that sounds crazy because a lot of people like to know what happens the next day. I don't know if you do, but I don't.
I hate it. I love it though.
Yeah, it's that's the fun part about it is waking up. Okay, what am I going to do today? So, well, there you guys have it. This is Tyler Shearer, the ins and outs of him.